Hey, what's going on, everybody? I just got a few things to say about the channel, so just stick around for that. But looking at here at Bitcoin right now, I'm really wondering how this is going to break here. We're getting very, very tight in here, okay? And so this is like the big moment. Is this a 1, 2, 3? Or is this a 4 and a 5? Or I'm sorry, is this an A, B, C, or a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? If we start going down now, it's not totally out of the question. It can, that it won't be a wave 4, right? So, for example, if I zoom in here, right, it's actually looking pretty decent. A couple of things can be going on. This could be a 1, 2, 1, 2. We're starting to continue higher. Another thing as well is this looks like some type of maybe ascending triangle, which is bullish, right? The measured move approximately is gets us back to the swing high here. Basically the big question is anytime you have a pump, right? You have a pump right here, and then you have a dump or a pullback, and then the price starts moving back up. That's like the biggest sort of thing for traders, for TA, is when the price comes back up. Because anytime you have a big dump like this, it always comes back up. It always comes back, unless you have a full-on meltdown crash. Eventually, when that crash is done, it's going to go back up. The big question is when you get a pump to the upside and you dump back down and then you start to recover, what is the recovery doing? Is the recovery a B wave, right, or an X wave? The B wave and the X wave is always the waves that screw people over, right? Because you look at it, oh, we're pumping, we're doing good, we get a pullback, now we're starting to go again, we're going to continue higher. This was just a pullback. That could totally be the case, and a lot of times it is. Or this is coming up into a B wave, and it can actually even break the top and come up higher, so we get like a 1, 2, and a 3. But all this is a B wave. And then you come back down. Right? So it's an A, B, C. It's a flat. Or it's just a regular correction, right? Like an A, B, and a C. Right? So it's always the B wave going back. Basically, here's your dump, and you're recovering back into the retracement levels. Right? So you want to get at least 50%, which you could see that wick there did. And then it becomes the question like, okay, here's point A, here's point B, and now you're kind of right in the middle here. So that's the big thing. Do you break out or do you come back down? Right? Even if you do break out, you can still come back down in a C leg. And that's why trading is hard. That's why technical analysis is hard, because there's a lot of things that can happen. So for me in my channel, I try to look at it objectively and give the best probable outcome. But here's the thing, you don't always have to know today. Like, we don't have to know the answer right now or even tomorrow. The chart will reveal itself. So for example, right, if somebody's eager to buy crypto, you don't have to buy it here, right? Or whatever. Basically what you want to do is let the wave crash, right? And then you could take a stab at it, because right, you had a 5-wave move or a 3-wave pullback. That's always a good buy. As it starts to recover, this is where you want to do nothing. You want the market to reveal itself, right? So if we start coming back up in a 3-wave shape, and then we start to come back down, then you still do nothing. Then this was a B wave, and now you want to wait for C. And so, or an X, or I'm sorry, a Y wave. So you either want to wait for 3 or for 5. And then that's where you can make a decision if you want to buy or not, right? But let's say it wasn't let's say the correction was over with, right? And we don't have to do this. Well, then that goes to show that it's always worth considering buying the dip on a 3-way pullback. So once you let this retracement go, and let's say you have a 1-2-1-2 ascending triangle, you break out, right? And then other than that, like if you're trading, I would just let it go at that point, right? You just let it go and let the wave play out, right? And then, right, if you get a 5-wave move to the upside, now now I got 5, right? So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now that I have 5, I'm still doing nothing. Maybe I bought a little bit here, right? But I'm not buying any more because I don't know if this is going to be an ABC or if this is done and we're going to go higher. One of the ways you can know is the degree of the second wave. So if this is a 4th wave, I look at this wave here, this was a pullback, and I look at this wave here. Now this wave and this wave are very, very similar in time and in structure, which means it's probably likely that this could have a good potential, right? Not financial advice, but to break to the upside. Now, here's the thing. That doesn't have to happen. Why? Because if this is not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then it's an ABC. So the basically the A and the B, so the B wave, right, and this reversal here are the same. So that's always the trick, right? I mean, how do you know? In a lot of times, you have to look at a couple more indicators, right? Like divergences. Maybe you're trading TD sequential here, right? So let's look at the sequential. Yeah, so right here we were coming down and we kind of landed on a 9 here. It wasn't perfected, but it's decent, right? If I maybe go to the 2-hour chart, no 9s there. Okay, let's check the 30. And about the same spot, right? So, there's a few different strategies we can look at, right? So anyways, I just kind of wanted to share that a little bit. So let's say, right, that you bought here, right? And now this was a B wave, right? And we still have to come down for C, right? Then you're going to feel like, man, why did I buy there? I should have bought here. Well, that's the thing. That's dollar cost averaging. You can't let it ruin your day, right? I mean, unless you're trading, then you're going to have a stop loss, right? You want to put a stop loss there for a break even, right? So let's say you bought right there and we started going higher. You look like, okay, we're in the money now, right? So then what I would do is wait for the low to come in. So here's a low here and here's a low here. So what I could do is, here's my entry right here. So what I can do is, there's my entry, and then once we have that low, I can move up my stop loss to about there. So now if the price goes against me, at least I'll make some money, right? I'm not going to be out, I mean, the important thing is not to lose money, right? So if you break even, no big deal, right? If you make some money, perfect. But we're trying to make, a lot of money here, right? I don't always say swing for the fence, but most of us try to swing for the fence, and that's where you get hurt in trading. In trading, you should never try to swing for the fence unless you've accumulated a long spot position over a dollar, dollar cost averaging, right? For investing and hodling, like most of us do, that's where you want to swing for the fence, right? And the best way to do that is to buy as much crypto as you possibly can, right? And I know that's a little bit weird to say, because it might take, a long time. We might have to go to a bear market, right? So that's why you got to sort of pick your spots, right? The best way I could describe, or I can tell somebody, is if you want to build a crypto position and you're not sure when to buy, when to sell, things like that, the best way to do it is to treat it like a cell phone payment, right? So most of us pay what, 40, 50, 60, 70, $80 a month for a phone bill, right? So just imagine you have another bill, right? And that's your crypto bill. And that crypto bill is ultimately going to pay you back tenfold over the years. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen over a long time, right? So these are just little things that we can get into when discussing, strategies and game plans, because everybody's financial situation is different. Everybody's horizon is different. Everybody's, basically their situations are different, but at the core of everything, we're all the same, and that's, we want to make money. And I think crypto is the best thing that could have ever happened to, the technology, to the investing, to our planet, really, and in regards to investing, that's happened since the dawn of the stock market, right? And being that we're so early, like, I can't go to Walmart and pull out my Bitcoin debit card, right, and buy groceries. But I mean, back then, right? But now I can, right? If you have, but it's still a debit card. It's still plastic, right? It's not like Walmart accepts Bitcoin, right? What Bitcoin cards are is basically you have Bitcoin loaded on a card, and when you pay for it, it actually transacts in dollars. But it's still good. It's still a right step in the right direction. But here's the thing. Once we get regulation, once utility starts to play in, you're going to see Amazon, you're going to see X, right? We remember what Elon said. We're going to try to be a big financial center, right? I think he had that in an interview not too long ago, talking about like a financial services. Breaking news, Donald Trump Jr., right, the oldest son, just came out, I think the other day, and basically said he is getting very, very, very excited of the crypto space, him and Eric Trump, right? So what that tells me is, that tells me that they're businessmen, right? They're very smart businessmen. They write real estate, whatever. So they got that mindset, right? I mean, go back to the Celebrity Apprentice. That was a TV show on NBC. And basically they did like different things in different businesses, right? Like who can sell the most, I don't know, hats or cupcakes or whatever, and how do they organize and how do they market and things like that. And I can tell by watching the show a few times that they really are, that's in their blood, right? So basically they're positioning, I digress, they're positioning themselves ahead of this crypto sort of transition because they know their father is going to win by a landslide. I mean, the numbers are just plain and simple. The only way they would lose is if they steal it. I mean, there's just no... Look, I'm in California, okay? I don't tell people where I live, but, I mean, nobody should, right? But I live in California, okay? And this is the most blue state on the planet. But I'm looking around, and I'm like, wow, things are changing, right? Like, when I would go to the grocery store, you can kind of talk to people, right? And, people are very upset, right? With prices and things like that, and you can sense that there's a change, there's a shift happening from that blue system, right? Try somebody else, right? And for me, it's more so, people waking up to the corruption on both sides, not just Democrats, but Republicans as well. They're both terrible for our country at the end of the day. But, I think Trump wanted to run as an independent, but he couldn't because he didn't have enough leverage, right? So he ran with the Republicans. That's, you got to go with a side that has a lot of money, has a lot of support. But anyway, I digress again. So what I'm really trying to say here is breaking news: Donald Trump Jr. has just announced, right, that he is going to invest or build something revolving DeFi, right? So a crypto platform, right? So that's a big deal, right? That tells me that why would they invest into DeFi? Because they know a transition is coming. They know DeFi is going to soar, right? They know it's going to explode, which means the biggest competitor of DeFi, which is decentralized finance. Decentralized finance is basically financial services like you would go into a bank. Like, I get in my car, I drive to Wells Fargo, I sit down and I talk to a banker and they give me financial services. Well, I could just go online and I can go to a decentralized platform and I can get all my financial services there. And the best part is I don't have to pay the banker, right? I don't have to pay the brick and mortar, the building of Wells Fargo. I don't have to pay the teller, the manager, right? Because the banks are there to make money, right? And who are they making money off of? Me, you, and everybody else. So if we can cut the bank out, that's why that is the biggest thing. That is why we don't have regulation. That is why Gary Gensler, Elizabeth Warren are attacking crypto. That is why it is like the biggest threat to the banking system, right? Because you literally have a centralized system versus a decentralized system. So ultimately, people are going to go where they save money, right? And it's all about being, the Trump family, they've battled the banks a lot throughout their life, right? I mean, you look at Donald Trump, he went through a bankruptcy. And they say, why would I vote for Trump if he went bankrupt? He obviously doesn't know how to handle his money. And that's the thing, right? When you're leveraging debt, right? That's the ultimate know-how, right? Is to know how to leverage debt and to put it into your business. Don't use your own money, use the bank's money, right? And then you're going to have to ultimately pay it back. But what if you default, right, on that loan and say, you know what, my business didn't make money, I'm not going to pay the loan, right? And then you go to court, and then what do? You battle the banks for a settlement, right? For you basically file bankruptcy. So there's an art to it. There's a science to going up against the banks, and they've done that with their real estate ventures. I mean, look how many buildings they own. They own wine companies, right? I mean, they own a lot of different things. So they've dealt with a lot of different banks, and they know exactly how the banks work. So where am I getting all this? Well, at the end of the day, we know inflation is going crazy. We know the banking system is stuck, right? The Federal Reserve. And if they raise rates, it's going to be bad for the economy. If they lower rates, then you have more inflation, right? So they're stuck. So what do? Well, you basically got to get rid of it. You basically have to reconstruct the whole system from the ground up. And that's where crypto comes in, right? They're going to want to develop the central bank digital currency, but I believe Trump, and I've always believed this even back before he was running for president, he was always a gold bug, always wanted the country to go to a gold standard. He talked about it many times. Gold standard. He said it would be very hard to do, but if we could do it, we would be, like the eighth wonder of the world. It would be very, very good, right? So the number one reason why the financial system sucks is because there's no accountability. They can print money out of thin air, loan it to the government with interest attached, then we, the taxpayer, have to pay it back plus interest. What sort of rigged deal is that? right? And then also they can basically spend all the money they want. And why did the government do that? Why did the US government and the central bank basically sell out and basically form a monopoly? Because they can buy whatever they want. If I have the power to print money, then that means I can buy whatever I want. So that's why the United States has all the nuclear weapons, the biggest military, right? Because they can basically just write a blank check and they can get whatever they want. And you look at the national debt. I just felt like yesterday we were at 20 trillion, right? And now we're at 30. Now we're at 35 trillion. But who cares? That doesn't matter. It could go to 100 trillion. It could go to 200 trillion. It doesn't matter, right? It'll never be paid back. They know that. But that's part of the scam. That's part of the deal, right? It's a big scam. Basically, the way it's designed is so that the banks can own all of it, right? And you say, well, what does this have to do with crypto? I know I'm ranting on about things, but I'm going to show you exactly where I'm leading into this. So, at the end of the day, it's a big fat scam that the central banks are pulling, and they couldn't do it alone, right? They need politicians on the inside, right? They need the politicians on the inside to do their dirty work, right? To sign the bills, to make it, right? The Federal Reserve was created it was orchestrated 1912, signed into law, I think 1913. And forever since, it's been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But basically, the main goal of the U.S. banking system, remember, this is our third central bank, right? We had our first central bank. The people rose up, defeated them. We had the second central bank, right? Andrew Jackson, our first Democrat president, rose up, and he basically, his whole thing was against the banks, right? Andrew Jackson's main purpose was battling the greediness, the corruption of the central banks, because they know how they play, right? I mean, just look at J.P. Morgan. Basically, J.P. Morgan is a pimp, right? He's a pimp. He goes and he finds his woman, quote unquote, which is actually a company. And for example, he'll go to Edison and say, Edison, you have good inventions. I'm going to fund you and you're going to build something for me. And Edison goes, okay, yeah, no problem. So he made the light bulb, electricity. So then he's like, well, that's your company, but I'm going to fund you and you're going to have to pay me back, right? And then over time, he buys them out. Right? And that was his whole goal in the first place. He basically threw Edison under the bus and he bought and he basically owned it. And since then it's changed a lot, right? Monopolies in the United States, it's illegal now, but at the end of the day, we still have the biggest monopoly of them all, which is what? The banking system. And that is why crypto is the biggest threat to the banking system. And that is why Donald Trump Jr. is creating a DeFi platform or something related to that. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but it's something revolving DeFi, right? So DeFi, decentralized finance, is the thing that the banks worry about the most, because people are waking up to the fact, like, we don't need banks anymore, right? Banks have been destroying the world for a long time. Look at the World War I, World War II. You think that war was fought for certain reasons, right? It's really about money, and it's really about gold, right? Anytime there's a war, it's always about money, power, gold, control, right? Yes, there was like, for example, they like to say, anyways, I won't get into that. But let me show you this right here. Basically, it's called the Money Masters. So right here, it's a documentary. I'll put it in the comment section or the description box. And it's 3.5 hours long, but I'm telling you, I've shared this multiple times. So for those of you new, definitely watch this documentary. Will blow your mind. And you got to really pay attention. And it's really about the history of the central banks going back way back in the day, like with the Rothschilds. And it shows how they think. They don't think like me and you. They think on a whole different level, right? Like most of us would be satisfied with a house, maybe a car, maybe 2 cars, maybe a boat, maybe a motorcycle, and a couple vacations throughout the year. Something, the American dream, right? They don't think like that. And then you can go, well, some people want to own an apartment building and own, a factory. Okay, that's fine. But they don't even think like that either. They want to own everything. That's how sick and demented they are, right? They want to own all the railroads. They want to own all the electrical companies. They want to own all the automobiles, right? They are the lender, or I'm sorry, yeah, the borrower, right? Me borrowing the money is subservient to the lender, right? So they don't care about governments because the government is subservient to the bank, right? First, basically they are the ultimate puppet masters of the world, right? And the central bank or the government, basically you see the $30 trillion in debt. Obviously, what I'm trying to say is it's a whole scam in order for the banks to control and to own basically the whole thing, right? So where does the central bank digital currency come in? Well, the central bank digital currency, they have to develop that because they know their fiat paper system isn't going anywhere. And they know the whole system's eventually is going to be a reset. So the current banking system under this financial system is going down. And we all know that. We can see it everywhere, right? We've been hearing recession, depression, transition, economic collapse for a while now. And it's bound to happen soon. So their plan when that happens is to develop what? A central bank digital currency. And the reason why they want that is because then they can have basically the ultimate control. See, they have so much control and so much power now, it's unfathomable. It's basically unbelievable, right? And but they're not going to stop there. They want more and more and more. So with the central bank digital currency, now they can control who can buy what. That's where you get into some deep, dark, scary stuff. Because if you buy a gallon of milk, or let's say you buy 2 gallons of milk, and on your way to the door, you drop one and you busted it. And you go, oh man, I got to go back to the store and buy another one. And you put your card in, which is a central bank digital currency, and it says, no, you've already had your allowance for this week. You can't buy any more milk. Wait, what? Yeah, you're only allowed 2 gallons a week. That's it. Okay? Or 2 gallons a month, whatever. That's all you're allowed. And if you spill it, if you break it, well, too bad. And people think, no, that's never going to happen. Trust me. Why do you think all the farms, right? And here's the biggest part about it is food, right? We're going into a food sort of pandemic where food is becoming more scarce, right? It seems like every week I turn on the news and another farm is miraculously on fire, or some meat factory is burning down, or some dairy factory is burning down, or Bill Gates is buying another farm, right? And he wants you to eat bugs and fake meat, right? What do they call it? Like bioengineered meat, like it's not even real, right? They want to get rid of the cows. They want to get rid of the cattle, right? They want to basically, they believe in their sick minds, right? The 1% of the 1% of the 1%, the top elite, right? They believe that all the resources on this world is theirs. They believe the water is theirs, the air you breathe, all the cows, all the food, right? All the grain, the corn, everything is theirs. That's what they think. They're psychopaths, right? If you think like, oh, Joe, and it's kind of, and this is why it's kind of stupid, right? People talk about Trump. They talk about Joe Biden. They talk about Kamala. I don't even care. They are nothing. They're well, Trump is, but they are nothing, right? They're puppets. So they're not even worth me talking about, right? And then you look at the congressmen. I mean, they're nothing too. And you look at the fake news. They're nothing too. The real people, the real enemies, you don't know their face. You don't know what they look like. You don't know who they are. You don't know what their names are. These people sit behind a desk. They're in the shadows, right? I remember one time Trump was doing an interview with Laura Ingraham years ago, and he mentioned that, and I was like, whoa, I can't believe he talked about that. And he says, I think she asked him like something about deep state. She goes, well, what is the deep state? And it's like, he goes, the people in the shadows, the people you don't even know about, right? It's not Joe Biden, it's not Obama, it's not the media, it's not the politicians, it's not even some of the pharmaceutical companies. It's think way higher than that. Think about like the families, the Rothschilds. I mean, more even so than that, right? These people basically are private shareholders of the Federal Reserve. They basically own everything, right? They say, oh, and that's also the biggest lie. Like they say, Elon Musk is the richest man on earth. No, he's not. No, he's not. That is just a farce. It's fake. He's not the richest man, right? The richest people on the planet, they don't want you to know they exist, right? That's why, it's like the Wizard of Oz. Who's behind the curtain pulling all the strings. They don't want you to know who that is, right? So, that's my rant for today. I'm kind of just explaining from my perspective how bad it really is and why we're in here, why crypto is so important, right? So definitely watch this interview. It's really, really good.
Is in fact the solution to all our economic problems today. It bears repeating. The issuer in England purchased his original shares with this stick. In other words, he bought 100 million. As a result, the currency was virtually worthless. Shoes sold for $5,000 a pair. Colonial scrip had worked
as elsewhere if we do not, by the power of government, keep them in their proper spheres.
Hours before Wellington's own courier, Rothschild hurried to the stock market and took up his usual position in front of an ancient pillar. And its root cause. Although Jackson had killed the central bank, the most insidious weapon of the money changers, fractional reserve banking, remained in use by the numerous state-chartered banks. This fueled economic instability in the years before the Civil War. Still, the central bankers were out, and as a result, America thrived as it expanded westward.
There is so much in this interview or documentary. You have to watch it. I'm telling you, if you are passionate about money, or I should say crypto, right? Remember, the love of money. They say the root of all evil. The root of all evil is money. I would disagree. I would say the love of money is all, the greed, right? Putting basically money before your fellow humans. That's just, and there's so many people out there, but they definitely go watch this. It's really, really good. And I haven't even talked about fractional reserve banking and how that works. Basically, you put $100 in, and then they take your money and they loan it out 10 times what it's worth. And basically, they're making money off of your $100 bills that they leveraged up to $1,000, right? And that's just how they work. And they do that because they want, and when you can't pay your payment, let's say you buy a car and you pay the payment and now you can't afford it anymore. They don't care. They love it because now they can repossess the car. They would much rather have the car than you paying back the loan, right? They want physical things. Then you say, well, why would they sell the car in the first place? Well, because they want to keep the money velocity moving. They want to keep the transactions flowing, because that's what keeps everything lubed up and continuing the ball, right? So if you look at the greatest time in American history, what he just said right there, America thrived like never before because Andrew Jackson, right? He got rid of that second central bank. The United States thrived like never before, right? Because they didn't, there's a lot to it. Let me go back a little bit here.
I killed the bank.
Yep, that was one of his greatest accomplishments, is I killed the banks. And essentially, when he did that, that was the greatest sort of time in the United States. Basically, the United States had real money, right? A dollar was an actual dollar, right? And essentially, right, they had a lot of economic prosperity. So what do you think? So where am I getting all this? What do you think's going to happen, right, when the banks really start to crack and really start to show their true colors, which they already are, right? And then once, they all talk about the Great Reset, right? So I think there's going to be two paths: the Trump and the Patriots and the American plan, and then you have the deep state and the central bank plan, right? And these two plans are not out in the open yet, right? They're basically hinting there and there, but they're not basically for everybody to see. So the central bank plan is obviously the central bank digital currency, the Great Reset, the Green New Deal, basically fake meat, right? Eating bugs. You can't own more than 2 gallons of milk a day or a week or whatever, or you bought too many ribeye steaks for the month, or they're going to really constrain you. You have too much gasoline for the week. That's what it's all about. They want the power to control and to turn your money off, turn your money on. That's why I don't really even like electric cars, because Elon Musk, I like the guy. He's for Trump and everything, but if I'm driving my Tesla Cybertruck, and let's say I bought it from him, and then 2 weeks later I sell it to you, he could turn it off remotely and say, you violated the contract. Well, it's my truck. I own it. Why would you, that's another scary thing. They can turn off your truck or your car remotely. So that's interesting, right? That's pretty wild. So anyway, that's their plan. The Trump and the Patriot plan, in my opinion, is going to be, we have two weapons, massive weapons, right? The central bank has the debt, and basically the more debt that they accrue, the more powerful they are. So when the central bank is like, yeah, you owe me $35 trillion, right, for the central bank, they don't care. They like that. They want more, right? Because the more money that, the higher the debt goes, the more powerful they become. The more debt they issue, the more powerful they become. Because again, the borrower is subservient to the lender. And who's the lender? The government, right? So the government really has no control over that. So what does the government need to do? Well, you need somebody in there like Trump who knows how to battle the banks. Now think about the bankruptcies he's dealt with. Think about how many days he's been in court battling the banks for his real estate, for his projects, for all his affairs, right, that he's dealt with over the years. So he knows how to do that. Now, this is on a much bigger level. We're talking a massive level here. So what the plan is basically a transition out of the old central banking fiat currency system into a new blockchain, gold, right? Those are the two words, the two key words that will save humanity. Gold and blockchain. Gold and decentralization. Gold, decentralized finance, right? So if you have gold as a backing, and then you have the technology as the utility, as the vehicle, right? So now you have a lot of power, right? Because it's kind of like back in the day where they made everybody sell their gold to the government, right? They made gold illegal, and everybody had to sell it for $20. And then once they owned the gold, then they marked it back up to $30. And then years later, then they said, okay, now you can buy gold again, right? Why did they do that? They did that to gain leverage. So what do you think is going to happen now? They're going to leverage gold and they're going to leverage crypto. That's why I'm so passionate about crypto. Not because it's all going to make us rich, which I believe one day it will, right? There's going to be a great financial shift, right? But it's also going to save America. Crypto, mark my words, gold will save America. People don't realize how bad they actually have it. They say, well, I'm a doctor. I make $200,000 a year. I have a nice sports car. I got a home in Florida. I got maybe a little condo in Uptown. I don't know, whatever, right? And they feel good. They feel happy. They feel like they succeeded. But let me tell you what. If that same person lived in a system where there wasn't like a monopoly over the banking system, right? The interest rates, the debt, all the inflation. That person would be living like Mark Cuban more than an average guy, right? So we all can't live like kings. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. But we don't have to suffer, which is the main point, right? Because if everybody was rich, like let's say everybody was a millionaire, it wouldn't work, right? Because then everybody would want to buy a Ferrari. Then there would be no more Ferraris. Then they would have to make more Ferraris, which would mean the cost would go up, right? And that comes into inflation, supply and demand. So why do they like to keep you poor? They like to keep me and you poor so that they can have their prices low, right? They don't want people becoming rich because they want their yachts, their mega mansions. They want those to be reasonably priced. Now, if there's if we woke up one morning and all of a sudden, there was 10 million Americans that became millionaires overnight, then all those people would want to be buying land, real estate, cars, yacht, all this crap, right? That we really don't need to make us happy, right? The one thing that really makes us happy is freedom, time with your family, right? Spending how you want your time. All the added luxury pleasure, that's just added bonus, right? But essentially, they don't want people rich because those rich people would buy the same things that they're buying, which means the prices would increase because the demand would go higher. So that's why they want everybody poor, right? They want everybody poor. The rich get richer, the poor stay the same at the end of the day. So that's how it works. So the whole point of this channel, guys, and this leads me to crypto, right? Is the whole point of the channel is essentially to inspire people about crypto, right? And a lot of people cover the charts, right? A lot of people look at the charts. A lot of people talk about the technology, but not too many people talk about the charts, the broader side of it, but then also everything I just talked about, right? Going back from that documentary to Andrew Jackson, to the monopoly of the central bank, to the Federal Reserve, right? There's so much there, right? And then ultimately the plan moving forward. So that's why I believe crypto is ultimately going to save the United States, right? We're going to, basically my prediction, I'm hardcore on this prediction more than any other prediction, which is Trump is going to win. There's going to be a reconstructing of the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is maybe going to be audited. Maybe there's the scandal or something's going to happen where all eyes are on the Fed, right? Because really, it's not Joe Biden's fault. It's not Kamala Harris's fault. It's not Trump's fault. It's the banking system, right? It's the whole the system that allowed this disease to carry on, right? Because the government comes up to the bank and says, you know what, I want this money for this. And the bank's like, sure, go ahead, here you go. And then the government says, you know what, I want money for this. Go ahead, here you go. So the more debt the bank issues, the more powerful they become, right? So what Trump wants to do, in my opinion, is reconstruct the banking system where what? You have accountability. So instead of a fractional reserve banking system, you actually have more decentralized finance, but then also when you add the gold component, you have checks and balances, right? So if the government wants to build a massive bridge, but it's not in their budget, what do? They put it in the debt. But okay, they can do that, but now with a new system, now it's going to be backed by gold. Now the dollar is going to be a lot stronger. Your $20 bill is going to go a lot further, and there's going to be less wild risk taking, because that's what it's really about. Like, look at 2008. They bailed out GMC, they bailed out Ford, I think. They bailed out a lot of companies. They bailed out the banks, right? They shouldn't have done that. They should have let them drown. Why? Because that's a lesson to other companies out there. Because all these companies, with their CEOs and their corporate board members, they make horrible decisions because there's no accountability. They could just print more money. They could just borrow more money. They could just, But if you had a system where, again, it's backed by gold, it's on the blockchain, we can use Bitcoin, we can use Litecoin, we can use XRP, we can use state, we can use whatever we want, right? It's a decentralized financial ecosystem where it's all peer-to-peer, right? Distributed ledger, it's an ecosystem. Instead, we have this banking system that's sort of monopolizing where all the money goes and who gets what, right? And again, a lot of the bad decisions get met or become a reality because there's no accountability. If you knew, let's say you had $1 million and you knew that's all you had, right? You would be very careful how you spend that $1 million. But if you had $1 million and then an unlimited credit line of $10 million, now you're being a lot more ballsy with that million, and now you're making mistakes, poor business decisions, right? And that's why you have a lot of zombie companies. That's why, there's so much to this financial world. And what does the media want you to focus on? They want you to focus on COVID. That's not anymore, but they want you to focus on the politics. The politics is all bull crap, like taxes and abortion and just stuff that just is ridiculous, right? Those issues, and I'm not just talking about, they're very important issues, but they're issues. It's kind of like a political distraction, right? Because let me tell you what, if you fix the current financial system, then you fix every problem in the world, essentially. You fix, what's the number one problem in the world? Poverty, hunger, right? People can't eat because there's no food. Why is there no food? Because there's no energy. Why is there no energy? Because it's so expensive. Why is it so expensive? Because the dollar sucks. Because the money that we all have is no good. It's been printed to oblivion, which means now our paper is worthless, right? So it takes more paper to create an energy system. Like, I look at India and I look at Africa, and even China. Those three countries, there's a lot of people there, and there's a lot of poverty there too, right? And if you can just supply those people with enough energy, right, you can basically have world peace, and you can solve everybody's hunger problems, right? That's what it really comes down to. But they don't want that. They can, the central bank can easily write a check and put it, on the debt, and essentially they can solve those problems. But they want people in despair. They want people poor, right? They don't want to provide energy to villages in Africa and India, because if they prosper, right? It's just more essentially less control they have, right? And basically, there's a limited amount of resources. There's an unlimited amount of currency. Okay, let me say that again. Everybody wants currency. What do the banks want? They want the resources. Why? Because resources are like Bitcoin. There's only so many, right? There's only so many crops. There's only so many cows. There's only so many whatever, right? Food. So that's what they want. They want the actual thing, not the currency. So that tells you a lot about our financial system. So anyways, that was a big, long rant I went on there, but I felt like it's Saturday. Let's jump into this. I've been wanting to kind of deep dive into it. And again, there's a lot more to it, right, than what I'm exactly saying. But essentially, in a nutshell, this is why we're in crypto. Most people gravitate towards crypto because they see other people making money. The first time I got into Bitcoin was I saw this woman. She was a Facebook friend, and she kept posting her screenshot of her Coinbase account. And back then there was Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. So she kept posting every day, Bitcoin going up 10%, 5%, 10%. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? What is this Bitcoin stuff? Right? So I looked into it, blockchain technology, and then I just went down the rabbit hole from there, right? So I'm hoping that I can maybe inspire more people, not just to look at charts, not just to look at crypto and what's the next meme coin, what's the next 10x or 100x coin, right? When people look at crypto, they look at it like, okay, where's the potential? Where's the money, right? What's the next 100x coin? And that's fine. That's how you want to approach it, because it's all about, right, making money. But there's so much more to crypto than just making money. Again, it's going to solve the world's biggest problem, which is the monopoly over our financial system. We have a multi-$100 trillion monetary system controlled by a private entity. And that private entity, right, is basically God, right? It wants to be, okay? And they answer to nobody. They don't answer to the government. There's no oversight. There's zero oversight to the Fed and what they do behind closed doors. And that's why crypto is not regulated. Think about it. Bitcoin's been around since 2009, right? 2008, 2009. Why don't we have regulations? Because the banks don't want it. Why? Because then it legitimizes it, and then it makes more utility come in, right? And why? And who do the banks own? They own Joe Biden. And who does Joe Biden own? Gary Gensler. And who owns Gary Gensler? Goldman Sachs. And who's Goldman Sachs? Central Bank. And what do they want? They don't want crypto. That's why we got to vote for Trump. Maybe you don't like him, but at the end of the day, I don't care about who he is as a person, right? I care about saving this country, and I believe gold and crypto are going to be the solutions. Mark my words, it's going to be gold and it's going to be crypto. Those are the only two things on planet Earth that can destroy the central bank. Gold shall destroy the Fed. Mark my words. All right, that's enough. Man, I'm almost out of time here. So just real quick here on my channel, I was going to give you an update on my channel. As you guys know, I have memberships now. I'm still getting ready to do my first member video. So look out for that. I'm basically kind of going more in detail, right? I already talk a lot. I mean, my videos are already like an hour long. So you're already getting a lot of basically me talking. But, you know, if you want more strategy, if you want more, you know, nitty gritty stuff in regards to price, I mean, you can tell me too. Like if you're a member, right? And, you know, I do a member only video, always comment and let me know, like, what do you want more of? You ask and you shall receive. Like, so if you want me to look more at this coin or you want me to focus more on this, you can let me know and I can make adjustments, right? Because I'm kind of just I'm just kind of playing by ear and seeing how this is gonna work, right? So where you click subscribe, just click join, and basically there's 2 options there, and yeah, you can go ahead and check that out. But as far as the channel goes, I've been getting a lot of comments, or not a lot, but a couple people that, there's some Theta haters out there, there's XRP haters out there, but I'm not going to sort of bend over for them and say, okay, no more of this, no more of that. No, my channel is based off the crypto community, but more respectfully, it's the XRP and the Theta community. That's what really put my channel on the map, okay? And it's really not even on the map. I mean, it's grown more than I ever thought, but I gotta stay loyal to my base, and my base has been Theta and XRP. But just because someone doesn't like Theta doesn't mean it's not good information. For example, let's say you hate Theta, and I look at Theta, and I'm telling you Theta is going to do this. Well, if Theta is going to do this, then there's a big chance that their coin, whatever coin they like, is also going to do something similar, right? Because crypto moves essentially together. So when I look at Theta, or when I look at XRP, just look at it as a representation of all of crypto. So, you know what I mean? So, so that's basically what I wanted to say. Another thing is, when I look at my channel here, I kind of compile everything together. So one of the things people want is individual videos, right? So I'm going to do a video only on XRP, or a video only on Bitcoin, or a video only on Theta. And, the reason I don't do that is, 1, it takes a lot more time. And number 2 is the thumbnails are actually hard. Like most people, thumbnails that do a lot of crypto videos, they basically are kind of the same. Let me give you a couple examples. So for me, the thumbnails are takes a lot, right? I gotta figure out what chart I want to use. I gotta, kind of overlay the chart with logos, and I gotta make it appealing for people to click on, right? Whereas like when you look at some of these, and I love these thumbnails, they're perfect. They look beautiful, but they're very simple, right? And if I did thumbnails like this, like you can see, it's just basically individual coins, right? Which makes it easier for people. Like let's say I don't care about XRP and I only want to look at Bitcoin, then I could just make a Bitcoin video. The problem is I'm kind of passionate about my my thumbnails, because they're these are pretty basic, they're very beautiful thumbnails, and I really like them. But I mean, for me, like I like a little bit more uniqueness with these thumbnails. Like you can see there's a kind of a little bit of thought that has to go into them, and and it's not just me copy and pasting an image, and I could do it in 5 seconds. So basically I can have a thumbnail for each coin, and I can reuse that thumbnail every single time. And I can do that, and it would make my life so much easier. And maybe I might do that in the future. So let me know what you guys think. Do you like individual videos? Do you like a video that's all in one? And I know my videos are long, and I know I should have bookmarks, right? So it's just, for me, it's just a lot of time, and I kind of like to invest the time more so in the thumbnail, because I think each video has a unique thumbnail with a specific chart. Whereas if I was doing, let's say I looked at 4 different coins, and I would have to upload 4 different videos, 4 different titles. It's just a little bit time consuming, but I might change. I don't know. I'm still kind of growing into this channel. Remember, I've only been making videos what feels like a while, but it's actually only been since late October or so. So I'm still kind of getting the gist of it. Yeah, so that's, let me know what you guys think. Should I kind of break up the videos and do, less or more videos but individual coins? Or do you kind of like everything packaged in one video? But I think if that package was there, we would probably want bookmarks. I would like maybe a moderator if anyone wanted to volunteer. I can probably give you the membership, maybe, I don't know, free, to kind of help me bookmark things. Because, again, it's just a lot of time. But anyway, that's basically what I wanted to say with the channel. So let me know. Okay, so let's get back to the price. We'll do a very quick price update here. And basically, nothing's really changed. I like this bullish consolidation. I want to see a 1, 2, 3, 4, and I want to see a 5. Now, the 5 could come like this. We can come back down, then get 5, like an ABC, then get 5. So it's going to be very interesting what happens here. Do I have the answer right now? No. Why? Because we're right in the middle of the retracement levels. So it's always difficult to gauge what it's going to do. You can see how we're kind of basically in a very, very, very tight area. So usually the first move, whenever you have a very tight area, that first move is usually the fake out. So if we go back down, I would look for a move back up, right? Let's look at theta here. Same thing with theta. I mean, it's almost identical. If I had to guess, it looks a little bit corrective here. So I wouldn't be surprised that this comes back down and makes a bigger three-way move before hopefully going back up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then get an ABC, and that would be a good place to buy. So we're going to need some more time here for this to develop. Let's see, XRP. So XRP actually looks kind of like a bear flag here. I was looking at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and then let's get 5. And I'm looking at this wave 4 as an expanded flat. But what is going on here? Well, if we zoom in a little bit more, it kind of looks maybe like a diagonal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, yeah, we got the 5-wave move, and then we have 3 down. I'm wondering if we go 3 up and then 3 back down. So like an ABC that gets us kind of back in this zone here. Now, it might be already finished now. So, but I would actually prefer it to come up a little bit more and then come back down to get that nice correction here. Because if we come up again, I feel like, it's going to be very unsustainable. So you can see the trend line here. I would like to see that trend line break and then come back and then come and take the high here. So, but nonetheless, XRP is actually, not bad at all. I mean, I can see what looks like to be, a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Some kind of diagonal here. So, let's see. Did it break the trend line? I'll put the trend line right here. It's a little bit subjective, but yeah, I would say it's right around there. So, but one thing is for sure, this wave, right, you could see this whole thing is one wave from here to here, right? Now, it might not be finished. We might need to go up here. But eventually, this is going to correct. It's going to flag out. So what I would do is I would wait. Either it's going to hit the high again, or it's going to start flagging out. Let it flag out, and then if we get a 3-wave dip, and you take this whole wave, cut it in half, 50%, we have a 3-wave shape, maybe we have divergence, maybe we have a TD sequential, a 9, that's where I would be starting to buy here, right? So, but that will be at a later day. So let's see how this develops. I'm still bullish, right? So let me go back to Bitcoin real quick, and let me tell you the game plan for the big picture here, and then I'll wrap it up and let everybody enjoy their weekend. So let's go to the 3-day here. So as you know, right, the big thing has always been getting back to here, right? I've been talking about it since we had this whole dump down here. I said, wait until we get back up here. So when we're down in the dumps, it doesn't feel like we're ever going to make it back up there. And look at that. We made it back up there within a couple days. It was very fast, much quicker than I would have ever anticipated. So I like to compare that to what happened back over here. It's the same kind of thing. We had a triple correction, right? We had this big mega dump, which was C19, right? And then we came up right there. And then this was the decision. We could have went down or we could have gone up, right? So again, now we're back at this point here, right? So let's go back over here. Now we're back in this little zone. So this is going to be the big area, right? So are we going to break up or are we going to break down? I really want to give you the answer to that, but sometimes you don't need to know the answer like right now. Let's let it develop a little bit more, right? Look how many candles it took before it actually came into. So I would say I would actually count it from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It took about 11 3-day candles. So 11 times 3 is what? 33. So about a month. It took about a month for that to occur. So I mean, we're not even on our second candle yet, right? So we still got time. And then let's see what patterns come in here. Let's see how it corrects, and let's see what it does. But if I had to make a guess now, like I had a gun in my head and I had to decide that now, I would really say that depends on the stock market. And I know it's kind of a stupid response, but that's the reality of it. But if I really had to guess, I would say we break out to the upside. Why do I say that? Because it looks like a beautiful correction. I mean, it looks exactly like what you would want a correction to look like. We come up and we flag out in here, right? And that flag is in the same degree as this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 2 and the 4 are very the same. W, X, Y, X, Z. So I would imagine we get that fifth wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So, again, it's an election year. So many crazy different things could happen. There's a lot of crap that could happen. I mean, just think about all the stuff we just talked about with the banks and stuff. They got a lot of power. And if they don't like the direction things are going in, what does the central bank do? The guy sitting behind the desk and you can't see his face is blacked out. He makes a phone call, and now you have Israel getting bombed, and you have something else going on, and something else going on, and then you have a riot, and then you have there's so many things, right, that they can do. And central banks are notorious for causing chaos, and they can cause chaos because they have so much power, right? If you have a bank and you have all the money inside that bank, you basically can make people do whatever you want them to do, right? People are corrupted so easily. You could have a guy who goes to church, he's a God-honest Christian, or whoever religion, right? And he could be a very good person, helps his neighbors, but as soon as you throw $1 million at his face, all of a sudden they start to change. And that's just the sad truth, right? So anyways, let's see, we have the weekly chart. Let's jump at the weekly chart here. The weekly candle is going to end tomorrow. And I really like that weekly candle. This weekly candle, you know what? It's actually beautiful, honestly, because if this red candle here, and I wish I can have a little bit more time, I'm at an hour and 10 minutes, so if you can hit that like button, it'd really help the algorithm out a lot. But if you see this red candle here, if this red candle actually closed below these two candles, and then we had this same candle here, I would be a little bit worried. But this candle actually just came back about 7/8 of this candle, of this wave, I should say. And then this following candle came all the way down, but look what it did. It got bought right back up. But it didn't just get bought back up. It actually came back to the top of this candle here. So what is the goal for the weekly candle? Well, just basically close at 60-61K. I would be happy. But what would make me really happy is if we can close at least back above 60,824 or above this weekly close here, right? But when you look at this candle, it's a very bullish hammer candle. I want you to look at this candle here. That's a bullish hammer candle. This one is a bullish hammer candle too, but it's a lot bigger. Look how much bigger it is, right? But even though that bullish hammer candle's pretty good, I would still expect the following candle to retrace 50% of this wick, right? You can see this wick right here. A lot of times the following candle likes to retrace a lot of that wick. You can see we had a big wick here, and then this red candle occurred. It took another week to retrace about half of that wick or so, and then we continued higher. So I would imagine that this is a very bullish week here, right? We went up, about 25% this week. So don't be surprised if we have a big correction next week, right? Now, if I zoom in to the 1 hour, what I want to see, right? So there's our line there. I want to see a hit. I want to see this either be an ABC, hit to the high, I'll come up in a flat, hit the high, but basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I want to see an ABC back down. And this ABC would actually be retracing about, somewhere 50% of that candle. And then go higher, right? That's what we want to see. But it might take some time. So, all right, that'll do it for this video. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.